Let's get start demo first of country data in Blazor and .NET Core API. So here my application, Blazor Web Assembly, and I just consume that Web API, and in this Web API I just actually use that .NET country data .NET package, which will provide these are provide that method, like for example get all countries, get countries by the code, get countries by the data, regions and flags and phone codes and country by the phone codes, right? And we are consuming this those API on over here, as well as we have directly actually consume that country data .NET package in this WebAssembly directly, and we get that the complete country informations, and we'll build this application, right? Same things if I show you the form. So in this form also you can see all that country, you can bind it along with that flags, right? Same things you can bind it with the phone number along with that flag, so that user can easily see, okay, this flag which country actually belong to this country, right? So this is actually very easy, we can build it, so that I would show you. So here I will show you one by one. Like here I just bind it, I just call it that one API which is returning all that country data, and also by the using that pagination. So like see, once I next, so we have get the data along with that particular number, like if I want to 6-page number, 7-page number, whatever number, right? So based on this we can also filter the data and get it binded in our application. Same things we can do that, like okay, if I want to search, so this method also we have a search mechanism. Suppose for example I want to check for India, and once I find it, so now see, I can able to see these two Indias over there actually containing like British India and normal India. So also you are able to see in here, so India has that India flags, right? And this other countries also has a other country flags. So this is very easy using that package. You don't need to record any data setup and all, just using that package, and you can use and easily actually build this application or use this country data in any applications. Like similar, this is actually I am using the same package directly, I inject in this WebAssembly pack application, and directly I can get it. But here I am not actually just using that approach, that pagination approach. But yeah, we can, if you want, you can just use it as well. But it's just for that general purposes, like how we can use directly that package in our WebAssembly standalone application, so that we don't require any Web API intermediate app, right? So that's why also there's a forms, we already use it, right? So let's start to see how actually try to get the data from API as well. Like if I consume that same package per data country data .NET package over here, so how actually the returning data. So let me try to first actually get all that data, country data. So execute. So this will be actually returning all that country list, right? So this is only just a country name, it will return the country name, whatever the country name in this package, so they will returning. And then if you go to that by the country code, so based on that country code it will return the data. Like for example IN, right? So if I pass that India, so let me see, not found, right? So let me just add like capital, might be it is dependent on that, right? Yeah, see, so this is dependent on that case sensitive as well. So if you pass the correct code, so you will get the data. See, this is the India data, and along with this India has that particular regions, right? So those are regions actually over there. Like if you see like Odisha, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, which is I belong to, so that is over here, and also that UP also, right? So like that. And if you see this is that country data, complete country data, along with this paging number, like which page number and whatever the limit you want, and also this search, right? So if you want to any search, so you will get that by default 1 and 10. So once you return back, now see the 10 records, they are returning along with their regions, right? So this 10 country will be returning along with the regions. Then go back to the next here. Okay, so again this is a regions by country code. So whatever that country code over here, right? So let me add the country code. For example, if you go to over here, and that country code is like AF, right? So let me pass that AF, so it will return that particular regions. So let me add AF, or I just suggest India as well. Let me pass India. Let's see whatever that particular reasons for this country, so they will returning back. I have already debug, so let me remove the debug. Now see all that India related reasons, it will give you over here that particular country, right? Same things like flags. So whatever when a country has a belong to flags, right? So those also will be returning. Like for example, India. In India, what kind of flags and this have, right? So let me go back to here. Now see here country, this India has a this flags, and there's a one tricks actually to show that flag. So as of now you are see this browser supported this one, but actually by default it is not supported. So I'll tell you how we can support it, this emoji. Actually emoji can support in your browser, and how would you would be render or display this emoji, right? So that is another part, we will cover it. And then also that country code, whatever country code, based on this if you want to get that phone number by the country code, so let me simply pass that India, and definitely you will get that +91, because this is a India's country code, right? Same things I think we can call it over here, like if you pass that phone code, right, whatever phone we have just returning back, right? So +91, this is belong to India. So once you can execute, so you have to get that particular data, like India data and particular regions based on that country code as well, right? So whatever the country code. And now if I go to further, now yeah, so those are actually method including this package is .NET package. So let's get start. So before start to implementation, I especially recommend, if you first time visit my channel, so go to my channel, which is .NET Real World Example, and you can able to see there's a many step over here. Like if you go to that playlist section, so there's a many things over here if you want to learn. Like for example, MVC, Astro, .NET new feature, gRPC in .NET, AI, and Azure deployment, Azure authentication and authorizations, Azure function, clean architecture, and .NET Core API, right? And many stuff like Blazor, Blazor hybrid app, right? So many stuff over there. If you want to learn more, so you can learn it over here. So now start to implementation. So first what I need to do, simply I just create a new applications over here. So I will show you from that scratch. So that's why I need to create a new application. So let me create a new project, and let's start to create a blank solution. So let me create a blank solution. So this is that blank solution, because I am using blank solution because I want to use that front end and back end as well, right? So that's why I just need to create a blank solution. Or even if you want, you can just create that Aspire, which is provide that back end and for front end together. But now I will show you from that scratch. So let me start this new application. Let me create this solution is a country data.net, and yeah, I think that's fine, country data.net, and just choose that project location and create it. So now our solution got created. Now I have to create a new project. First I will just build that on a web API. So once I create a web API, then I will consume that web API in our Blazor web application, right? And along with, we have to use same package in directly inside the Blazor WebAssembly as well, right? So let me create a new project. Let me add a web API. So yeah, this is that web API project. Next, and just call it to that web application. That is completely fine, and use that default template .NET 8. Okay, now my application actually template got created, our default template got created over here. And what I need to do first, actually I have to inject, or I have to just add that package. So what is that package? So go to over here in the NuGet packages and just search for that package. Package name is this guy. So this is that package, country data.standard. If you want to see this complete package in our GitHub, and also this is a nice things over here, licensed by the MIT, which is completely free, right? And also there's a other facility over here. If you want to modify, you can modify it as well. So let me try to install first, apply, and yeah, it's installed, right? So once you install, close this tab, close this one, and save it, and go to here. And here you have to add a controller so that I can show you all that method, whatever the method is available over here. So let me create a new controller and use that API controller. You choose that empty one, right, and make it, this is a country data. So let me add a country data, right, add it. So once your controller got created, now what I need to do, let me create a constructor, right, and in this constructor I have to inject, there is a two way easily you can do that. Like if you want to direct that package, whatever package actually we have include, right, so those package has that that class, right, that available class of that all that method, like country helper on that particular package. But what I will do, I will just create another service so that that service can handle internally whatever that our logic and all, and then we will inject it in our controller. So let me just create another folder over here that is called interface, right. And once you create an interface, I will just create a one of that method or one of that interface which have all that expose method, right. So let me create a interface and let me add that name, for example iCountry data service, right. And this iData country service, actually I will create all that method which I just show in the demo, right. So let me add this all this method, like get countries which will returning a string, get countries by the code, everything actually written by only just string data, right. And that's it. And also see, get data using with this whatever that offset and that limit, using the search query we will return it. Let me try to implement. It is very easy to implement that. So what I need to do, I just have to just create another folder over here that is called services. So in this service I have to just create another implementation class. Let me quickly create that implementation class of that here. Let me call it to country data service, and in this country data service I have to inject this country data service, right. And let me add that service over here. Even I have to required, actually we have to dispose as well, because whatever data we have to consume from that package, right. So we have to proper disposable. So what I need to do, simply I have to use that iDisposal as well. And let me try to implement as well this guy. So now by default it's got implement. And also let me try to import or just implement default interface, right, default method over here. And yeah, we will implement one by one. So first what I need to do, simply I have to create to constructor, and we have to import or inject that country helper which is coming from this country data standard package, which is I just added over here from my starting, right. So and also just let me add this guy and just inject it, and now we are ready to go to use this guy, right. And just make it to this guy so that it is a private property, so I can make it an underscore so that that's meaningful, right. Okay, now now our helper is injected, and in this helper let me show you one thing actually before implement. So let me show you over here. This helper has all that method which I show you, right. So this helper has this get all countries, get country by the code, get country by the phone number. So those are things we will implement over here one by one, right. So let me start the first method, which is a get countries all, right. So let me add over here, simply I have to just call this guy, right, because this country has this country method, it will returning over here. Then whatever our logic we can put it over here. For example like for example whatever data we are getting, we have to returning as a string over here, right. So what I will do, simply I put that conditions over here, right. And if it is null, so definitely it will returning back, or whatever the data over here, we have to just serialize and return to back to in our over here this returning method, right. Similar, I have to just implement other one. For example, let me go down to here, get country by the code, right. and let me just instead of wasting our time, right, so I can just copy paste over here again. So get country by code, again we have that method, we are returning that, and simply we have to transform our response, right? Similar, let me implement other one, get country by the code id. So same thing again, I have to just call this guy and just simply implement over here, like get country code, right, and then we have to transform. Similar, I have to implement get country by data. So this is a little tricky over here because we have to manage this, limit and offset as well, right? So whatever page number and all. So in this case, what I need to do, simply I have to just get that, get country data. So first I need to get the all that country data. Then we have to check over here, like if any search query over here, like suppose somebody is passing as a search query, if it is not nullable, then again we have to filter based on the search query. And then once I get the data, right, so now we have to put some logic over here to skip those page number and the limit, right? So this is based on that logic, we have to skip and get the data, right? And then once I get the data, we have to simply check null check over here, and we have to transform the data, right? So see, we have to checking the data, like if it is null and all, returning back no data, no country found, and then finally we have to response back to over here, right? And then we have another method which is a get country flag, which will return the flag, right? So let me go back to our next method. So here again we have to call get country emoji, right? Because this flag actually we have to return back that emoji, and that emoji will be support in our browser, right? So that I will tell you how we can, because it is just simple as a string, right? But how convert to string to our emoji, so that I will show you. That is a tricks actually that I have to implement. And then we have to implement another method, which is this, which will get phone code by the country short code, right? Simply pass that country code and simply return the back over here. And finally the last method would be over here, that is called this guy, get reasons by the country code. So let me try to implement, because this is a straightforward implementation, so that's why I don't want to write over here. Simply country helper, get this, call that method, passing that parameter, you will get the data, you have to transform the data, right? So that is done. Now the last things actually we have to implement the disposable, right? So we already as I implement we already just create, I think, disposable method, right? So let me just fix this guy. So we have to just dispose, we have to use the dispose method, and then we have to create another dispose method, which is that implementation method, which we can pass to true, and then they will actually handle over there, right? Let me just create that dispose overload method. Now it is a overload method over here, so let me call it over here, and we have to just create this property as well, so that we can maintain the disposable is true or false, right? If it is disposable true, then we have to skip and all, right? So let me create this property, is a dispose property, and now this dispose just passing the dispose value, and then if it is done, then we can just also we can manage our things over here, right? So like this way we can implement our other stuff as well. So unmanaged or managed code you can just dispose over here as well. Okay, so that is fine. Now we are good to go to call this service in our controller. So go back to your controller, go to controller over here, and simply call to country service, and then country service injected that, and just consume over here. And yeah, that we can do as a again private property, so we can call it to this as a private property. So that's it. And now we will create all that we have to call all that endpoints over here. So my first endpoint would be get all that countries. So simply call this get countries, and call this service, call that method, and return back to over here. It is straightforward, simple, right? And then again another method, which is that country code, and this is also again calling this method and return back to over here. And then the next one would be a country data, which is expecting, that whatever offset value and the limitation and the search query. Based on this, we have to just clean code, right? We have to just pass it that parameter, we will get the data and we return back to data. And similar, we have to call another endpoint, which will be return all that reasons by the code, right? Passing that country code and get that reason, the particular country. And the another one is flag. So if I pass that flag, we are passing the code, right? Based on the code, we will returning the flags as well. So now we have to using another one, that is actually phone code. Via the phone code, we pass that phone code, we will return the country based on that related to belongs to that phone code. It will returning the country. And the last one, we have to implement an endpoint that is called this country by the phone number, phone code, and we pass the phone code, it will returning that country, right? So those are things are done, right? We have built that country data controller as well. Now one last thing, actually we have to do that. So whatever package we are trying to use, right? So they have another extension method so that they can resolve this dependency. Because see, as you can see, this country service, actually this is a dependent, this country helper, right? So we have to resolve that dependency so that we can avoid that dependency injection. So go to that program.cs class. Okay, so here one issue I guess I observe. Now see, I just create a web application, right? So but it is saying that web application namespace all does not exist in this namespace, right? So while creating this application, I think that is some issue. So what I will do, simply I have to just rename this application. Let me rename it. Let me rename it over here. So let me call it to not a web application. This is a web API, right? So let me call it to web API and thus rename it. After renaming, again still same issue, right? So what I need to do, I think, yeah, so there's another problem, I think. So every place, I think, so for example, okay, now see, everywhere actually I just created this namespace, right? So that is actually creating a problem, I guess. So what I need to do, I have to just rename this to web API. I think that would be fine. Let me try to replace and see. Okay, 8 place got changed. And go back to your program.cs, also got change over here. But here we have to remaining that web applications create builder, right? And let me try to build. Yeah, now see, this time I got fixed that issue, right? So there is a problem actually related to that web application. So because we have to create a create builder of the web application, so we can't use that same name in our application. So that was the problem. Okay, so leave it that part. And now what I need to do, simply builder dot services dot, right? In this dot, what I can do, use that add scope, and then whatever that helper, right? What is that, our country helper? We have to add that country helper, and that's it, right? So this is actually, we have to resolve the dependency so that we can avoid that. And then second things also, we have to resolve the dependency, this new service we have to just create it, right? So we can do that again, service dot services dot add scope, and in here I country data service, and then country data service, country data service, right? So that's it. This is actually we have to do additionally, and once it's done, now our API got ready, right? So let me start and see how actually look like it is working fine or not. So let me start this application. first. Yeah, so I think now looks like all that endpoint is exposed. Now let me try to this guy. If I get the query, now see I'm getting the data. Same things if I try to get that, country data, try out, and default data, execute. Now I'm getting the data along with that here. So that means our API is working fine. Now moving to our web application and a Blazor application, so that I can consume over there. Even we can use same country helper package directly over here. So both way I will show you. So let me try to create another package. So let me create not package actually, let me try to create a application, Blazor application. So let me show you that Blazor, and in this Blazor I'll show you a standalone application. So or I can use that server side as well, right? Server side or no, client side, both it's fine, but I will use that standalone. So I can show you like how actually working in a standalone application, right? And then we can use Blazor app, or I can say Blazor country app. So country app, and then create it, and I will take the default settings, create. So now our application got created over here, and if I run this application, let me run it so that I can show you what we have in currently the default template in the Blazor. So yeah, it's got running over here, and it's simple: a home, counter, and also counter and the weather forecast. It is a default data, right? So let me start to implementation that whatever API, or before API actually I'll show you how we can just that package will work existing or our standalone application, right? So similar things we have to do that, like add that package. So let me go to that NuGet package on this standalone application, and here you can just use that country data package same as I did over there, right? So same things I can just simply using this and apply that, and done, right? So once I done, what I can do, I have to go to that page, or just I have to go to this counter one, because I will use over here in the counter section, and I'll show you. All right, so in this counter I have to inject that that counter helper class, right? So let me just remove everything. I think I don't record anything over here. Let me remove everything, and then at the rate inject, the rate inject, yeah, inject, and then country country helper, right? And obviously this is required another namespace. So what is the namespace? It is a country data standard. So I just add it over here, and then I can use the ch, right, country helper. So here I have to just create a code block, right? So let me create a code block over here, and I have to just create a property. So this is that property which will actually see this is country also coming from this particular package, right? So I have to just create an enumerable list over here, and I have to just need to create a overload method of on initialize method, on initialize a sync method, and inside this method I have to just call that ch dot get country data, and we can just simply pass it to that, right? And also I can just use the to list, and once it's done, now I can simply assign this guy to over here. That's it, right? And also it is we can use the async method, right? Async, because it's asynchronized, so I can use it async. That's it. And once I get that this country data, I have to bind it over here in HTML, right? So I will just use simple as a table, right? So let me use a table over here and just bind the data. So I have already handy that sample, right? So this is just I just create a table th, and this is a t body, and this is a country. I am just checking, okay, if it is not null, then we have iterated, and that adding all that information over here, that country has that whatever parameter, right? And save it. and now we are good to go to run this application. But before run, see, I just injecting this country helper, right? So I have to resolve this two in our here as well, right? So as we have done in our web API, right, similar things I have to do over here, like builder.services dot add scope, and then pass it to that country helper, see, like this. So done. Now run this application and see in action. Okay, now I implement in the counter page. So once I go to counter page, now see, in this counter everything looks good, but except that flag, right? That flag is not converted, right? So that I will show you how we can just convert this flag to over. There's a many way actually we can do that. Like for example, instead of this extension approach, we can create another package which will can passing this flag ID, right? They will convert it as a flag and emoji to flag, and we can use it. But as of now I will show you how we can use it directly over here. So go to that extension, go to that manage extension over here, and in this extension let me find country flag, right? And if it is not available over here, let me search for here, or yeah, I think we have to go to this guy, because here, right? So here just find this country flag, right? So yeah, this is that guy, country flag fixture. So you have to just install this guy. So add to this extension, add this extension, right? So once you add this extension, now go back to over here and just simply refresh. So once you will refresh, now see, you are able to see those flags over here, because this is a emoji, right? Because it is returning a emoji code. That emoji actually need to convert to as a flag, right? Means that emoji string to convert it to that emoji, right? So that actually it is working. But yeah, this is not a right approach, but yeah, there's other approach we can use, that other things, so that I will tell you in later. But yeah, this is fine. If you still have an issue something related to this visible to flag in Blazor, direct emoji to here, so please feel free to comment over here. So yeah, that is done. Now next part is, now directly we are able to see, directly inject this package, and we can able to see other there's all that countries over here, right? But my goals over here, I already create a web API, so that I will consume over here and we will show in this web application. For this actually I don't want to use that HTTP client. I will use a new other new things, that is our Refit, right? So that I will use it. So for that, what I can do first, actually I have to create a one service over here for that interface. So let me directly create interface. For example, interface, right? In this interface I have to just create the name is a API, right? Let me create a interface and call it to this guy, the API. Okay, so now I have created the API, and now my first all that method, actually let me just get it from here, because I don't want to write again same things. So I have to just expose all that method, whatever API actually we have to expose, right? So like that, let me, okay, so these are also actually coming for Refit. So I have to add that package. But yeah, for that API, what I'm trying to use, we have just whatever API, right? So we have to just get API, this is that path, right? And then another path over here, right? All that path actually I just expose this over here, but implementation nothing will be over here. Implementation should be only that API side. This is another way actually we easily expose that method, and we can get it directly from there and we can use it, right? So that's why I'm using this way. And in this case, what I can do, I have to use one of that package, that is call it's over here, Refit, right? So I will use the Refit and use this second one, not the first one. There's another one, is the first one, right? So I will use this second one, which is HTTP client factory. Use this HTTP client factory, install that whatever the latest version. Okay, apply, So once you're done, now go back to your service over here, and simply you can just bring back that, yeah, using Rapid, right? Because it is coming from Rapid package. So all that get call, it will actually wrapper, it will create a wrapper, right, in this class, this interface, and we can easily just consume this API in our any of that component, and we can easily use it, right? So that is done. Now save it. Now call it to this guy, to our any component, for example home component, right? In this home component, I have to just inject directly over here, like as I did earlier also. Not this guy, inject, and then call it to that service interface, and just create that, and that call it to something, whatever you want, right? So that we can just call it to over here. So let me call it to this guy, country API, right? So once you're done, now few design also we have to create it, but before the design, actually what I will do, I have to just create a code block over here, so that we can inject, we can call this API and get the data and show it over here. So first I have to just create at the rate code block, and I have to just create this enumerable list of that countries, right, which is coming from that package, and then few other things also we have to create it, right? For example, that what is the top set, what is the limit, and what is the search query property, right? So once is done, now I have to call one of the life cycle which is calling that, but before that I have to create one of the method which will get all that data from that API, right? So let me create this method, load countries, and in this load countries, what I need to do, I have to just call that interface, and that get country data async method. So see, this is get country data async method, and in here I have to pass this offset. Let me, because there's a few parameters we have to pass it, right? Also limit, and now last one is a search query. Okay, so that is done, right? And once it's done, now I have to just store as a, because it will returning as a JSON string data, right? So because this is a API, it will returning a JSON string data, and once you get the data, I have to simply assign this data over here. We have to just convert it to the data, because this is a JSON string data. We have to convert it to as a list, right? So we can use a JSON serializations mechanism to deserialize the data, and also we can bring back to that system.time string, and also this is coming from that country data.standard, right? And what is done now, see, all the data, whatever data this load countries we are getting over here, and we can just bind it over here, right? So this method I have to call on one of the lifecycle method, which is, I think, override. Let me take that override, and on parameter set, right? So let me on parameter set async method. In here I have to just call this method over here, await, and then this method, and that's it, right? So now see, this on parameter and a lifecycle hook method, it will call this load method, and it will binding this data over here. That's it. And now other two things actually we have to do, that like there's a search mechanism also we have to see, right? So those search mechanism we have to create a method. For example, it's simple, like again we have to create a search. By default it will set a 1, and then call this load method, right? Similar, I have to create another two method, which is just handle that next page or previous page, right? So now it is a previous page, I just create a previous page, and we have to handle this can go previous or not, like based on this flag. And similar for that next page also, it is just like that, right? And let me create that. Okay, so let's see, next page again, this two flag we need to create it, but yeah, idea is over here, just whatever the next plus 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 and just load that country, right? Similar for previous, it's minus minus and load this country, right? And those two flag we have to just create it. So let me just create this two flag over here. So there's a need to put some logic. Okay, can go only offset if greater than 1, then it will visible, right? And go can go next also, it is just if not equal to null or is has the limit, right, equal to that limit, right? So those part actually this done, right? Search method, previous method, next method, all the method is done. Now we have to bind the data in here. So again I have to just create a few design. So first design I will create a div, right? In this div, which is just input parameter of the search type box, and we can click that search, and this is search already we have just implement, right? So this is search click event, right? And then once I div implementation, now we have to create another table which will bind the data. So it is simple, I already just created the design. So it's like that. Okay, so I just create a table, and this is a tr, right, with a header, and then this is a body, whatever the country we have just bind it one by one over here. And one last things actually we have to handle over here, the two previous as next click event, right? So I have to just create two button over here. One is that previous page and next page, and I have to just disable based on this over here, and we have to call this previous button method and next button method over here. So that's it, right? So now we are good to go to call over here. Definitely I will get some error, but I will show you how we can fix it. Okay, so what I need to do, yeah, one thing I have to do that I have to configure actually that API, right? So yeah, I have to use that one of the extension method, because I am using that that another, that is mechanism, right? So what is that call actually? So I am using this, go to over here, refit HTTP client, right? So there is a one extension method which we have to resolve over here, resolve the dependency. So what I need to do, go back to the program.cs file, and here I have to resolve the dependency. So let me resolve the dependency. It is very simple. We have to use this guy for builder, right? So let me add the builder dot services dot add refit client, right? So this is actually that extension method where I can use that country, whatever that country data API actually we are trying to use, right? So we have to add it over here, and then we have to use that configuration HTTP client over here, and in here use that lambda function, right? And in this lambda function we have this many properties like base URL, which is actually that base URL, this particular method, right, this particular interface. So that I have to add it over here like that. So let me assign to over here new URI, and then we have to pass that URI over here as a string, and that's it, right? And what would be my URI? So as we see, so this is our actually URI, right? 7218. So we have to add this guy to here, right? And also you can just make sure okay, we don't require this guy. Make sure this is a correct URI, you have to add it over here. And also you can just make sure, go to that Air API, go to that properties, go to launch settings, and you can go to the development. Yeah, so actual, this is actually our URI. Okay, so I by mistakenly I just put that wrong one. Go back to our implementations extension method and change it to this guy, right? So now this is done, but it's still one issue that I will show you, and then we will resolve it. Okay, and now what I need to do, I will just run this to two application together so that our API can run and then Blazor application will run, so that our Blazor application can connect with this API and get the data and all, right? So for this actually I have to run together this both application. So configuration, that setup, go to that multiple and just start this guy and also start this guy and apply and apply, okay, right? And now run this application. Now see, application got running, and also if you see over here, now API is working fine. There's a no issue on the API side, but in our application, web application, I get that some error, right? So why this error? Let me deep dive on that. So let me F12, okay, go to that console and let me show you why actually it is. So if I zoom in, so it is saying it is a access control allow origin issue. So this is actually is blocked by the cross policy, because see, this is a two different application, right? One is that API, one is that client, right? So that whatever that client request we are sending that API, that is actually we have to allow on that API side, so that whatever request we are sending for that client, so they can actually okay, they understand, okay, this is a request coming from there and I accept it and I have to return back over there. Because if it is a different application and you're trying to connect, so definitely this access cross policy actually prevent and it will not support it, right? So that we have to add it. So where I have to add it? So that I have to add it in our web application side, API side, so that whatever request we are coming from there, they can understand and they can allow to give the data. So I already many of that session I just covered, but yeah, I'll just show you from that scratch again so that you can aware this part also. So before that app, actually we have to add that service, right? So I have to use this configuration, right? So let me add this configuration, which is actually builder.service, add course, right? And then there's a configuration. I have to add that policy allow all origins, okay? And there's a this is that configuration, like, okay, allow that method, allow that header, allow that credentials, right? And here you have to give your API that path, that URI path, right? So what is that URI path over here? So once you configuration done, right? And one more thing actually you have to do that. So which is, so see, this is service side, you have to just configure it, right? And once it's done this side, so you have to go to this app side, and in this app side you can just allow over here, like for example app dot allow or course, use course, okay? And in this use course you just defined your whatever that policy, right? So that you can just use it over here. It's simply using this extension and along with that whatever policy name. So what is that policy you are just using? So this is my policy, right? This policy name I have to use over here like this way, and that's it, right? So once this two configuration is done, right? So now we are good to go to run and see. Okay, once you run this application, is still that issue over there, right? Why? Because see, let me check first that error. So if it is still same error, so that means whatever that URL of that client application, right, that is not correct. I think we have to configure in our API application, right? Now see, my URL would be like this 7158, right? But what I configured, if I go back to our web application, I just use that 5056, right, which is wrong. So it is just by mistakenly, I think, go back to the launch setting over here in this web application, that Blazor. Okay, so I think I took that only just HTTP one, but I have to use this HTTPS one, right? So I think this is that correct one. So I have to use this one. So let me stop this and go back to your here and let me configure that correct one. Make sure whatever configuration is correct and then run it. Now this time see, there is a no error. Even I can get the data, even I have to able to see that previous or next page, and also if I click that next, I am able to see all that data, right, along with that flags, right. And also existing package also is working fine over here. This is API, calling by API, and this is existing one. And one more thing I would like to show you, that I will bind this country as a drop down as well. So I will just use this another component. So let me go back to web application and go to that weather forecast, actually remove completely from here. Okay, and I will use same component, right, weather forecast component. And here I will create a one form which is actually show, or I can use that new one, but yeah, that is fine for that learning perspective, right. So what I need to do, simply again I have to just create a few things over here, like I have to just call that country right over here as well. So what I can do for this, I have to just create the code block over here, and in this code block again I have to just create that country over there and few others property, so that I can just create a form and bring back that namespace. And once all that property, because I'm just creating a form, right, so those form actually record those are property, right. And then just create one more lifecycle hook method over here and load this method, the load countries. And the load countries I have to just create it, I already created, so let me copy paste from there as well. So let me create this load countries over here as well and just call it over here. And this is same country data API which I need to inject it over here. So let me inject it over here, which I already done, right. So go to up, let me inject, actually we don't require this guy, so inject this guy and bring back that namespace. So yeah, once it's done, now go back, and also we have to bring back that system.text.json namespace. And that final things we have to do that over here, some handle submit method and all, we can do that, but yeah, let me just create it. But as of now we are not trying to submit anything in this form, but yeah, just create a handle method. And also if I want to do one more method, like if I want to change something, so based on this on change we can just change and that return back to data, right. But using this same API, same country data API, which is returning all that method, right. So which will get it, and I can just add it over here, that HTML. So whatever that HTML, I just so let me just create it over here, right. And what actually we have to create, and just showing over here. See, this is just a div, right. In this div, in here there is a particular div also. So yeah, in this side this div, there is a particular name, first name, email, password, and this is a country drop down, right. So in this country drop down, what I am trying to do, whatever country I just trying to bind, but along with this country code, right, means that whatever that flags I want to show appearing over here, right. So that actually we're trying to get it over here. Similar, I have to show over here as well. This is two drop down, right, along with that flags. So that actually I want to show you over here. So save it and run it. So now go back to the weather forecast. Now see, this form got created, right. And if you create the country, now see all that country you are able to see along with that flag. And if I bind this guy, so country code along with this image, right, flag image, so also you can see. So that is just for the demos perspective, actually how we can bind the data along with that flags and all, so that you can do that. And even now see, one more thing actually I want to show you, like for example, just copy this guy and open any other browser, for example Edge browser, right, and just hit this enter. And but now see, this time you are not able to see this flag. Why? Because I'm using that particular flags, that extension. Without that extension it will not visible. So that's why I'm told you this is not a right approach actually. because either you have to do some additionally put some code, or just while start up your application you have to enable that extension. There is a one approach, but you can do one more thing, like you can use that particular package which can just convert to this this guy to this emoji, so that if you required some additional or another session, please feel free add this comment, I will create it. But I'll just show you how we can fix this. So go to that extension and go to that manage extension, and in this manage extension just search over here, for example, this is I guess existing one, right? So if I want to more, so I guess here, yeah, get more extension from edge. So go to this guy, and here just find this country flag, and this is that extension actually which will convert whatever that your emoji code to that emoji, right? So get it, this guy, add that extension. Once you get it this, so now see it is added over here, and once you add it, now if you refresh, you will able to see this flag over here, all that place. If is over here as well, if you go to the weather forecast and go to here, you will get that flag, right? So that's all for this session, and before close this session, I will share you that package which we are using. So this is that package URL, also GitHub, and a frank domain country data.net, and there's also a nice documentation as well over here. This is the documentations, right? And also this is the how we can use it. They also actually refer that example and whatever that existing method of this particular package. So these are that package actually. So there's a nice document also, if you want to use it or if you want to go through, you can just go through, and that's all. So that's all for this session. Thank you, have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.